Joining us right now on the Illinois Center for Broadcasting hotline, we have got professional wrestler Tyson Dux. Tyson Dux, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
First off, I just want to say Corey wanted me to tell you hi. He's the guy that shot the videos last weekend or last month for AEW.
Oh, yeah, those guys are really cool, man. I really enjoyed the little interview segment they did. They're real big wrestling fans.
Yeah, he just wanted me to tell you hi. So.
Aw. It's like high school all over again.
All right, well, Tyson, you've wrestled everywhere. I don't know if everybody listening knows that, but you've wrestled everywhere from WWE to TNA to Ring of Honor to Japan and on the independents. What's the difference between, say, wrestling in front of a WWE crowd and, say, wrestling in front of an indie crowd?
I think, in my opinion, humble opinion, that wrestling in front of an indie crowd is way tougher. The only reason why usually it is tougher is because when you have such a massive scale crowd as a WWE crowd, it's easy to get them to react to anything. Because as soon as you have a few people reacting, they all react. They all follow, right? They always cheer.
Right.
Whereas when you're on an indie show, sometimes, brother, when you're in front of 125, 200 people,
yeah,
they might just hate your guts and not want to move with you at all.
Yeah,
so it's really... my biggest crowd was at Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Canada, and it was in front of 18,000 people. It was my first ever WWE show, and it was easy. It was really cool and overwhelming, but way easier than some of the smaller indie shows that I've done in the Toronto area. That's for sure.
Right. So this is a question I ask everybody. What was your inspiration to become a pro wrestler? I get this question a lot, and it usually varies. The reason I got into wrestling or what sparked an interest in wrestling was a coloring book. I tell people it's that rock and wrestling coloring book. It was like when I grew up, I'm from the East Coast. We didn't have cable. That's how old I am, is we didn't have cable back then. And my mother went to the store in town and bought me this coloring book, and I had no idea who Hulk Hogan or Hillbilly Jim or Junkyard Dog was. Right.
But their illustrations, totally, that's what got, I'm like, I don't know who these people are, but I love it. You know what I mean? And from there, yeah. I just, as a kid, you search it out, you find it. And because all I had when I grew up was called Grand Prix Wrestling.
Right.
And it's really old school.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally got on the WWF 80s Hulk Hogan bandwagon,
right.
Man, it changed my life forever, So that's where I kind of got my start.
Yeah, that's funny, coloring book. I've never heard that one before.
Well, that makes the story a little bit different than, I watched this show or I watched that show or whatever. It just started from rock and wrestling, that terrible cartoon put on illustrated coloring book.
Awesome.
Tyson, it's Ryan here. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. You said in a previous interview that your son is a big wrestling fan. If he wanted to follow in your footsteps and become a professional wrestler with all the injuries you've had over the years, would you encourage him or discourage him for pursuing a career in wrestling?
Let me tell you, my kid knows more about wrestling at the tender age of 13 than most people will know in their whole entire lives. He lives it. He goes with me to shows. He's always at shows. He reads books constantly. His shelf at home in his room is just full of books, like wrestling books. He likes the old school style, so he reads a lot about the history of wrestling. I guarantee he knows more than the new kids coming up today that are just starting in the business. He knows more than they do because he's so educated with it. He really when your 13-year-old kid says his favorite wrestlers are like Big John Studd and Harley Race and those guys, you've done well as a father. Let me just tell you.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool because he's not the normal. You know what I mean? He doesn't go with the cartoony characters. He likes the big mean dudes. So The thing about it is, I've already started, kinda. Like, I don't, like, he doesn't get to do any of the falls, the bumps, or anything like that, but he started to learn how to chain wrestle, and he knows how to wrestle, and in that regard, and I take him to the gym every day now, because he's a big kid. He's a real big kid, so we got to start early, and it's not that I encourage it, but if he wants to do it, I want him to be good. I want him to excel. That's why I think that's what keeps me going a little bit longer and trying to get bigger dates for myself now, because I'm getting up there in years. It's just I want to make sure that his path is way easier than mine if he's going to pursue the same path. And injuries are going to happen. Like my two kids could be, you know, or anybody could be like on the street and like fall, or be out on vacation and get some kind of terrible disease or something. You know what I mean? It's that I can't really hold them back just because I fear injuries and stuff like that. So instead of fearing what could happen and holding him back, I'm actually going to support and encourage if he wants to pursue.
Awesome. A couple of years ago, you wrestled in Pakistan. What was the atmosphere like over there?
Here's the deal with Pakistan. I almost got over there. They said they had it all booked up, and I was supposed to be the biggest, most evilest villain in USA villain. Canceled at the last minute. So if you see any press releases and all that stuff, it states that we went, but we never got the opportunity to go because of there was floods and we had some government issues, as they were.
Okay.
Which was fine with me because I was going to make more money in my whole career in 3 shows than I had made over my previous years. A couple of years ago, going to Pakistan, because half of it was danger pay, because I was supposed to be the top American heel. I was supposed to wear American gear and go out there and just play this obnoxious character, of course, as I always do. And I was never like, there was rules already stated that there would be an armed guard to take me to the venue, and I was never allowed to go sightseeing or anything like that. It was straight from venue to hotel. Was it. So it's one of those situations where I was excited to do it, but on the other hand, once it fell through, it was like, well, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that wasn't for the best.
Yeah, maybe that wasn't such a good idea to go there.
Right. I think I'm not brave. I think it was stupidity. Like, I would be like, yes, Pakistan, awesome. But really, I think in the long run, it worked out for the best.
I'd say so.
You've wrestled in WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, independent wrestling. If there was one wrestler that you became really close, like best friends with, out of all those companies, who would you say it was?
Oh, gee. Like, I could almost pick from each company who I'm really close with. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I know in 01 in Japan, me and Sanjay Dutt became like really good friends, really close, because we had the same kind of, we were roommates, but we had the same kind of personality, kind of schedule. So we didn't drive each other crazy. We actually got along really, really well.
Well, that's good.
When we got back from a show, we knew that there was like 10 minutes down, or 10, 30, 40 minutes of downtime where we just didn't talk.
Okay.
And we'd be like, oh, well, let's go out and hang out, and everything would be great. So Sanjay is one of those guys. I know, like, on the indie scene, one of the biggest stars right now, Kevin Owens. Like, me and Kev are, like, always been close just because we have things in common. We have children. We're family men. You know what I mean? So, and then, like, I know I was really heartbroken. Like, this is how old I am, is when I was doing runs, I was, I got close to Chavo and Eddie, and then when Eddie passed away, it broke my heart when he passed away. It really did. So,
Eddie was quite the guy. Cool.
So speaking of Kevin Owens, I know last year you wrestled Owens in his final match in Canada before joining WWE. And what I wanted to know, what do you think about his success in WWE so far?
I really, truly believe it's amazing. It's not that it came too late or too soon. I think he's on the perfect. It's perfect. His timeline has always been good. You know what I mean? Even when things were miserable at different places in his life, that things have really, panned out the way they should. And he's a good case of like a super ultra great talent and great timing. And the sky's the limit still for Big Kev. He's, you know what I mean? He's still in the prime. It's funny that he just gets there and he just goes from NXT to WWE just because you can't hold back talent like that. It's hard to believe that for a lot of people, like, why is he going, like, jumping the roster so quick? The only reason why is the guy is so good at what he does, right?
Right.
So, couldn't be happier. And it's the only thing that I wonder is, like, when does he hit that go through the glass roof? Because the sky with that guy is the limit. So already he's beaten Cena. He's been NXT champ. He's main evented that the Brooklyn show, which that ladder match was something else.
That was something else.
That was incredible, yeah.
Seriously. Yeah, I had to message him right away and say, "You're a maniac. I hope you're okay." You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where even though you're wrestling and it's entertainment, good God, the stuff they do,
Right.
With WWE signing more and more independent talents like Owens and Samoa Joe as well, and others along with the success of NXT, do you think it's only a matter of time before WWE comes calling them?
You know what? That's the way everybody has to look at it. Like, everybody on the indie scene should always be ready. This is the time and age where if you're not ready to go and perform at that elite level, then that's on you. That's really your fault if you're not ready. I got my opportunity to go down to the Performance Center last year and work with them. And even in the situation where I was in, where I had torn my hamstring 3 days before at a show, like I was wrestling a show, tore my hamstring, and still went down there, put an elastic band on the stupid thing, and went at it for 3 days. And like I'm the only guy that they couldn't put down. I'm the only guy that, out of all these drills, everybody was passed out, laying out on the floor. These amateur wrestlers, these football players, these all like bodybuilders. I'm the only human being that was standing there, and like it was such a great honor to have like someone like Regal nudge me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you really like this stuff, don't you?" And like, you could. I said, Regal, I could live here. I could live in this environment all the time, because this is how I am. So, but the thing with me is, they said at the time, when we got done and it was our last day, they said, "Here's the deal. We can either, it's going to be yes or no. That's it. There's definites. So either it's yes and you come down, or no and you are not coming, like, you're done. So you might as well quit kind of trying with WWE, because we're not interested." And I got my letter in the mail 4 weeks later, and it was a maybe. I got the friggin' maybe. I don't understand why I get the maybe, because it would have been nice either way, right?
Right.
Just to know, like, yes
Absolutely.
or no, but now they got me still hanging by whatever. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Let's hope for the better.
Yeah. Real quick, Tough Enough. What do you think about the whole Tough Enough this season, the whole format and all that? What do you think about some of these contestants on Tough Enough?
Honestly, I haven't really watched much of it. I've only got the previews of it and stuff like that. I don't follow Tough Enough as a rule real closely, but I do know one thing about Tough Enough. The guys before that get eliminated before have a better shot of doing something in their career.
Right.
Make it. And I know that's a terrible thing to say, but like a lot of people, like, that if they're jealous, like, I know there's a big guy on there, and a lot of people are like, I don't know why he's there and somebody else isn't. Scrap that from your mind completely, because when I was with the company for about 2 years. It was Nowinski and Maven, and they never got out of the shadow of the Tough Enough kids. And they never did anything with them. And Maven had a lot of talent. Like, he could have done something. But at the end of the day, the guys were finally just weeded out. So it's the same kind of thing. I don't want to be the guy that's being negative, or I'm not trying to be negative or anything like that. I'm just saying that Tough Enough would never, ever be my avenue to go, nor would I suggest anybody try it. Just for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. That's a terrible way to look at it. I don't want to be that guy to say, you shouldn't do something. You should do whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, maybe in the grand scheme of things, it's not your best venue to go, because if you look at the track record of Tough Enough people, nobody has done anything with Tough Enough.
Right. Anyone that's won Tough Enough hasn't done anything, right?
Exactly. Those guys that win it are actually the worst off, I find.
Yeah.
So.
I have to agree. So I've heard the story about you coming up with Mark Henry's finisher, the World's Strongest Slam. For the people listening,
it's true.
For the people listening who might not have heard the story, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, usually on my Twitter, I usually have Fun Fact Friday, where I just kind of try to remember things from my past, because it's been almost 20 years of professional wrestling. I've been doing it for such a long time. I'm almost at 20 years. So on this Fun Fact Friday, I put down that Mark Henry's finisher, the World's Strongest Slam, is a product of me. That's my idea. I come up with it. I'm still waiting for Mark to give me some kind of check or something for the damn thing. But really what it comes down to is the fact that I can't I was in the ring with them all day, and being an enhancement talent and being on the road with them and being close to them all the time, they trusted me, and they always brought me along. So when they were training, I was the guy they were chain. Like, I used to chain wrestle with Randy Orton back in the day when Randy Orton was just starting.
Cool.
These guys doing the stuff, right? So on bump days like this, I would be in there with them. So Mark had to come up with a finisher. He was back from injury. They were scrapping the whole Olympic strongman thing. They were going on to and sexual chocolate and all this stuff. Mark was coming back as the big deal, right? He's supposed to be a big deal. And there's a lot of pressure. So the day of the show, of course, because they haven't had time to work on it, they decide, okay, well, we got to come up with a finisher now because you're about to go on. So they spent the next 2 hours bumping me. So there was the Dudleys were in there, and Bubba would give me something from ECW that would sock and hurt. And John Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace, would give me his his wrench into a powerbomb, sit-out powerbomb that he was doing all Japan. Well, he'd give that to me, and you can just imagine, after 2 hours of taking heavy bumps, 2 hours of this, I finally had a breaking point, because whatever moves they gave me, then Mark would give me. And then they would discuss it.
Jeez.
And then Mark would say, he would give me the move, and then being a jerk, he would say, well, I don't think I could do that to Kane. Or that's kind of I don't think I could do that to anybody. I'm like, why would you give me the stupid move then? So when it all come down to it, I kind of lost my temper a bit, and maybe that's why I don't have a job. I lost my temper. I said, listen, you're killing me here. Why doesn't he just do this? Pick me up crossbody and drag me down. I said, it's not going to hurt me. He can do it to everybody, and a guy his size makes that look ridiculously scary and dangerous. Right, and then I told him how to do it, and then I jumped up in his arms, of course, because I'm like a child in his arms, and he gave me that the World's Strongest Slam probably 6-7 times for them to see it. But the great thing about that move is, even with so much force and impact and his size coming down on you, you're going down so flat, it's always nice. It's always a nice landing. So at the end of the day, that's always been his move, and he has me to thank for that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. So earlier in the year, you started wrestling for AEW right here in Chicago. Unfortunately, AEW co-owner Jim Lineman recently passed away. Do you have any stories or memories of Jim that you'd like to share?
That's the thing. I have just started with that company, like you said, and I've only met him in passing a couple of times, and it makes me sad to not have any kind of stories with Jim. Like I've only met him a few times in a couple shows that I was on before he passed, just like in passing as we're going through, because unfortunately living 7 hours away in Canada and having a border crossing, I've always shown up to the shows like not on the call time. They want me there at a certain time. I have to leave now super early to get to these shows in order to make it. So unfortunately, I didn't have any stories about him. I know he was a great guy and a family man, a father of kids and stuff like that. And it's truly heartbreaking for someone to go that early on.
Right.
And I know for a fact that he was loved by everybody at the AAW staff, and they're really going to miss him. And I'm kind of unfortunate because I didn't get the chance to know him.
Well, at least you've heard things about him. That's a good thing.
Right. And it's all good. It's not like anybody said that guy was a tyrant or cheated us or anything like that. He was a good guy. So, you know what I mean? It's my hat goes off to him, and I felt as though that show we really, even though like I don't have much history with them, like we tried to give 110% that day, and all the guys did. You know, all the guys from the staff to all the wrestlers gave 110%. And I think it showed. That was a good show, that last one.
You had an incredible match at the last AAW show, teaming with Matt Cage against Eddie Kingston and Shane Hollister. It ended with you putting Kingston through a table with a Death Valley driver. What is it like, or what was it like teaming with Matt Cage?
Matt Cage is a solid guy, like a talented young man. And one thing about Matt, the thing about him is he's a great athlete and a good wrestler, but he is that much better in his promos. So that guy has the chance to make millions of dollars in this business, because it's that weak point in most people is promos. But like he doesn't really have a weak point right now. He's good on the mic. He's a good-looking guy. He's solid. He's great in the ring, and now his promos are through the roof. His promos have always been top-notch. So, that's the best part about Cage and me, is that when it comes to promo time, I can just let him fly. I just let him do it. And he's always catching me, too. He's always helped me out. That's always been my weak area, and it's always been great to be able to get in a promo situation, and just as I'm about to lose it, he catches me, and he goes along with it. So
awesome!
I can't be happier. He's a good partner to have.
Yeah, it's always great to have a guy like that. Do you and Cage have a desire to go after the tag team titles, or do you have more of singles goals in mind, like maybe go after Lewis Linden in the Heritage title, or even Ethan Page in the AEW Heavyweight Championship?
I think, you know what, I think as we stand right now, I think that Matt Cage is looking at Page, looking for that heavyweight title. Because why would we stop? Why would we start anywhere lower when we can get the top prize? And that's what I know Cage for a fact is looking to get that heavyweight title. Me, on the other hand, I'm still just starting there. I'm just getting my feet wet now. And I still got a little bit of stuff that I think I have to prove with Eddie Kingston. So that's the route I'm going. I'm more of not much of a title guy. I'm not about titles. I'm about making statements and showing people another side of wrestling. The less stunt side, the less flippy side, the less choreographed side, the more dirty, violent side. And that's what I love about pro wrestling, is there's so many different avenues of it. And that's what I like about AAW, is they've let me be myself, and that works out just fine with me.
Sounds nice. One more question for you that I have, Tyson. If you had to choose, what would your favorite career moment be?
God, there's so many. Good Lord. Wow, like you got me there. That's a really good one. I would say that when Pierce was in charge of Ring of Honor, that's when I was making the most steam in ROH. Is when I had my little feud with Eddie Edwards, and we were going for that. He had the TV title, and I was on the hunt, and we did the gauntlet in Toronto. It was another gauntlet match. And I know I pinned Edwards at the end of that. It was one-on-one, and then I went toe-to-toe with Dabari right after that. And I think that was one of those moments where I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in the Tyler Black match, Seth Rollins match in Toronto the year before. Because it's a totally different style than a lot of guys are giving now. You know what I mean? Just a simpler, harder style, and those matches I still look at. I guess maybe I got a little bit of Dynamite syndrome, where it's Dynamite Kid now. He's all crippled up and watches his old stuff. I think that's the same with me. You know, as I get a little bit older, I look back at my younger self and like, wow, you know, I could really do some stuff back then. So those are I would say, moments like that have always, stood out for me. The one moment that's never been taped, and I know I've had everybody watching, was me and Jamie Noble got thrown into a match in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we got thrown in there because Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon weren't ready for their promo. They needed to stall 10 minutes, and I know they threw me out there with Noble. I had just worked a dark match and got thrown out there in a second dark match, and I know I had all eyes on me by the company, and when I come back, I had a standing ovation from everybody, like the guys that I enjoy in this business, like the Arn Andersons and the Fit Finleys, Dean Malenkos, those cool guys. You know, you can't get any higher, you know what I mean, than that in this business.
Spontaneous are fun. Spontaneous things.
Yeah.
That's some high praise coming from Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
Right.
So you mentioned Seth Rollins a moment ago. What do you think about Seth Rollins becoming the double champion now? He is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He's the United States Champion. What do you think about that?
I think, anytime any of us guys, and I lump us all together because we are together in this thing, whether it's a lot of guys feel as though they have to be competitive out there. I don't feel that way anymore because I'm so much older. But when guys that have done this thing from an indie background, or we're not football players, we're not amateur wrestlers. Well, we might be amateur wrestlers, but we're not in any other sports. We got into professional wrestling because we've always loved it. Those are the times that I am the happiest. When it's the Sami Zayns, the Kevin Owens, the Seth Rollins, the Cesaros, anytime any of us gets any kind of recognition and gets pushed to the front and saying, well, look at me, I am a complete success, and there's no other. Rollins is the complete example of that now. He is the whole example of, I got everything. I got all belts, and nobody can beat me. That speaks volumes to the indie industry that we are still on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no football player or MMA guy out there that can take that away from us.
Right.
Is that we are still what makes wrestling wrestling. And that's I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in the fact that we're the ones that make wrestling what wrestling is.
Now, you mentioned, like you said, you're what makes wrestling wrestling. What was your feeling about the women's championship match at NXT TakeOver?
Oh, that thing was bananas. Now listen, ladies, whoever's listening to this, don't get mad at me. I'm not saying this to be a jerk. It sounds jerkish, though. In this business, I have watched so many women wrestlers come and go, and I trained a lot of them back in the day that, they were into, they want to get into wrestling, so they start out wrestling, and it's never been good. I am sorry. It's a lot of times, unless you're like a Sarah Del Rey or like one of the top elite females, it's never been that great. It doesn't hold my interest. I know what it is for the fans that like women's wrestling, but let me just say, this NXT, whatever Del Rey and the rest of them are doing down there with those girls, is phenomenal. I've never seen matches that have held main event spots and deserve main event spots. You know what I mean? Like Sasha Banks and Becky could be anywhere. And the Charlotte match, and you even on the indie scene now, look at Candice LeRae and Kimberly. Those girls can do it day in, day out on a top card scenario and still hold their own. And I think that's awesome. That brings a whole dynamic to what professional wrestling is, because the guys have done it all, and now the girls are getting their chance to do it. And finally, after almost 20 years, I am now a fan of women's professional wrestling. And that's because of this NXT kind of phenomenon where the girls are they're really killing it every time.
That's very much so. Yeah, it was enjoyable to watch on Saturday night.
That's great to hear. Real quick, before we let you go, I wanted to do a little word association with you. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay, Ricky Steamboat.
Just the godfather of babyfaces, the best babyface of all time.
Scott D'Amore.
Almost like a father, even though we're close to the same age. Great coach, good friend.
Mark Henry.
Amazing dude. He needs to call me and say thank you.
Bobby Roode.
Bobby Roode is by far one of the greatest talents in this professional wrestling business, bar none. And the fact that he doesn't have more followers or more people knowing who Bobby Roode is a damn shame, because he's one of the best in my opinion.
Seth Rollins.
Amazing.
Kevin Owens.
The very best in charismatic, talent, and just good friend. That guy has got it all covered. He is the best.
And finally, Matt Cage.
Matt Cage, handsome devil that can cut any promos. Thank you, Matt, for having my back every time we're talking.
All right, well, thank you for that, Tyson. Thanks for joining us, by the way.
It was a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, you know what, guys? This has been a lot of fun. You guys have. This is a good show. I love it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on.
Yes, thank you.
And you, listening at home, can find Tyson on Twitter at Tyson Dux. That is Dux, by the way, on Twitter. So thanks for coming on, Tyson.
Thank you, Tyson, very much.
Hey, guys, you have a great day. Thank you
too.
so much.
You as well.
And I hope to do it again sometime.